Well, let's go live now to Israel's Defence and Security Forum Head of Research, or Yissachar. Or, thanks so much for your time. Let's talk about these hostages. 199. It's taken Israel some 10 days to figure out how many hostages in total. Would you assume that all of them are alive, or is that the wrong assumption to make?
Well, we can't be certain of anything at this point because Hamas has committed really a war crime by any international standard by taking these hostages into Gaza. You got to remember what happened Saturday morning, October the 7th. Hamas terrorists infiltrated into Israeli cities, abducted and kidnapped babies, young men and women, elderly from their homes, sitting peacefully at their homes, going to celebrate in a party, and then kidnapping them back into Gaza. You got to remember that the Hamas official you just interviewed did not have all the answers because the situation is more complicated than that. Israel used to have let's say one soldier, Gilad Shalit, held in Gaza, or several bodies of soldiers, but never in a lifetime we imagined we have nearly 200 hostages in Gaza Strip, and they are spread not only in different locations, as all estimates say, but also between different factions. Hamas holds some of them, but also the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Popular Front, and any citizens that would be entering from Gaza into Israel and kidnapping them back to Gaza. So there isn't only one address to this cause.
Or Israel is going to have to pay a very high price to get these hostages back. What do you think it would take?
Well, I think the situation is extremely complicated. I think the leadership understands it very well. I know that there are literally hundreds of people in all levels of government, both diplomatic and intelligence and operational, who are working on it feverishly. And we've seen really non-relenting effort by both Israeli services and the Pentagon and the CIA. We've seen pressure on Qatar. Bear in mind, Qatar plays a double game here by both hosting and harboring Hamas terrorists in their five-star hotels in Doha, while having relations with the U.S. and the West. So putting pressure on Qatar to release those hostages is a key point here. Denouncing Hamas as a terrorist organization that carries out war crimes, but also taking into account the announcement of the Iranian Foreign Ministry today, saying that Hamas would be willing to release the hostages if Israel ceases its airstrikes. I had no idea that suddenly Iran is the negotiator here, which proves that actually Iran is behind the terrorist organization called Hamas. The international community needs to understand this. This is Iranian fingerprints all over this massacre, all over these crimes against humanity. And all countries in the world should reconsider their relations with Iran, especially snapping back the sanctions until all hostages are back home safely.
Or can we assume that Israel would know where many of these hostages are being held? Is there a chance that Hamas, in a strategic way, is holding them in northern Gaza, the area which Israel forced or ordered the evacuation of?
Well, it's hard to know. The real intelligence disaster here, anticipating the attack, will have to make up for itself now, and we can see that
well, it failed in anticipating this attack. So, do we have any faith that intelligence would now know where the hostages are?
I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that really there are multiple people working on it as we speak. But these are two different planes. You've got really the operational intelligence, which is what we're talking about here, but you also have the strategic intelligence anticipating the movements and analyzing whether movements by Hamas terrorists, for example, in training camps, getting ready for the attack, getting on their motorcycles. We've seen newly released videos today of them, arranging and getting ready to attack. And somehow all of that did not, ring all the alarm bells in Israel, and that would have to be thoroughly inquired. But also, I think the operational intelligence now is critical to know where the hostages are. I don't have too much information to tell you, but I can tell you that this is a top priority for Israel. We've seen the IDF spokesperson say it. And really bear in mind, Qatar financing Hamas, Iran financing Hamas, all of these are top priority to put pressure on. Especially on top of that, you have the Egyptian government not allowing Palestinians crossing from Rafah into Egypt, allowing this humanitarian corridor. So I think all of these are key, both to release the hostages and to minimize the humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Netanyahu has said in the last couple of hours, quote unquote, I say to Iran and Hezbollah, beware. We've also heard from the Iranian foreign minister threats of preemptive strikes on Israel. At what point do you see this escalate into a broader war?
Well, I got to tell you, we got to look at this event from an international prism, from a regional prism, not just, let's not narrow it down to Israel versus Gaza. Remember what President Biden said? He said it's not just about the security of Israel, it's about the security of the world and the security of the United States. We've seen countries around the world in the West saying this is our problem. Bear in mind, this is much like the Russian invasion to Ukraine was not a Ukrainian issue. So is the Hamas massacre in Israel. This has become a regional issue. And we would be wise to use it, to take advantage of it and leverage this regional moment where people have to choose. It's like US President George Bush said after 9/11. It's either you're with us or with the terrorists. And now all countries in the region, including Saudi Arabia, considering to normalize relations with Israel, will have to choose. Are you with the Iranian axis, harboring Hamas and Hezbollah, or are you with the U.S.-Israeli pragmatic Sunni axis that would set a united front against them? I think all countries in the region would have to change, and these are really tectonic shifts happening all around the region. We have to use this as a regional moment to seize the opportunity and really change the course of the Middle East for generations to come. This is a moment where countries around the region look at the Gaza Strip, but also deduce and translate it into a domestic politics and regional politics. I expect both regional countries and countries around the world to hold Iran responsible and to expect pragmatic Sunni countries like Saudi Arabia to come together with Israel and set a united front against Iran and Hamas.
Okay, or Yissachar, where it's just gone 2 a.m. in Jerusalem. We thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.